Welcome to Breaking Barriers.
Welcome to Breaking Barriers.
Welcome to a journey of resilience and resolve,
where the voice of Afghan women journalists resonate with stories of loss, dreams, and restricted freedom.
In each episode,
we delve into the hearts and minds of those who dare to speak out,
despite the shadows that loom over their future.
We explore what it means to yearn for a silenced past and to hope for an unseen tomorrow.
Join us as we listen,
learn,
and share in the struggles and aspirations of these courageous women.
Together, we seek understanding and foster hope.
Welcome to Breaking Barriers, Women in Afghan Media. Today, we are honored to have Azad Hamidi joining us, a dedicated media development specialist and journalist who has been at the forefront of supporting media organizations and journalists in Afghanistan through his work with international organizations. Throughout the challenging events, including the Taliban takeover, Azad has been a pillar of support, providing essential grants and assistance to journalists, ensuring their crucial voices endure despite difficult circumstances. In our previous discussions, we have explored the courageous journey of female journalists and the obstacles they have overcome in the media landscape. Now, we shift our focus to forging a path forward. This episode is dedicated to empowering women and sharing the future of Afghan media, highlighting the invaluable contribution of international organizations along this journey. Together, we will unveil strategies to cultivate a thriving environment for women in Afghan media. Azad, it's amazing having you on board today.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Farouk. It's great to be here.
What sort of future do we anticipate regarding Afghanistan media, and particularly concerning women?
Well, I think it's a very tricky question, Farouk. Particularly when we're talking about media in Afghanistan, it's a very sensitive topic. We remember it from the previous era of Taliban in Afghanistan before 2001, how they were completely against media and they consider it a foreign object, let's say, and they feel like this is something that's been controlling people's mind in Afghanistan. Well, in fact, it's the other way around. I think it's the fear that they have, and that's why they keep pressurizing and they keep putting pressure on journalists and media family in Afghanistan to try to shut them and ignore the voice and ignore the voice of people. Because believe it or not, media is the voice of people in any country, anywhere in the world. And whenever someone comes in power and a group or a political party takes over, the first thing they do is try to control media. And that's exactly what's been happening in Afghanistan. One of the first measures that Taliban took was to eliminate the voice of women in media completely, preventing them from contributing to the media sector, presenting themselves into the TV channels, news articles. So basically, the future that I see is not very good. I think there's going to be more pressure. I think there's going to be more limitations implemented on media. As we see it now, since the takeover of Afghanistan by Taliban in 2021, the situation is even more critical. The voice of female journalists are completely gone. It's something that for the past 20 years, basically, women tried their best, tried very hard to fit in that community and kind of find their voice, find their place within that society, which was very hard. And now we've seen all of those shattered again. And the future that we see is going to be without any support or without involvement of the foreign countries or people outside Afghanistan. I don't think the media in Afghanistan would survive, especially if we're talking about women and how women can be actively involved in media.
Azad, which approaches can be used specifically to empower female journalists working in Afghanistan to take an active part in this sector?
I think more than empowering, there needs to be more support in regards to capacity building trainings, because we have to understand that since 2021, the majority of journalists who were female have been evacuated from Afghanistan, and these were people who have had experience of decades of experience, years of experience in the sector. So all of a sudden the sector is left without them. And it's very hard for someone who starts a career in this sector to stand up and make their voice heard. So that's why I believe that there should be more capacity building opportunities, trainings provided to them, support provided to them, so they can tackle those situations inside Afghanistan with all the barriers in front of them. I think it's super hard if they don't have that specific knowledge or that experience to fight back and to make their voice heard. So that's basically my belief for female journalists to have more opportunities, to have more skill building opportunities, capacity building, and trainings that can make them ready and prepare them for what's to come.
What measures can be taken to enhance the safety and the security of Afghan women journalists, both domestically and internationally?
I believe it's easy for us to say, standing outside or outside of Afghanistan and not knowing exactly what's happening on the ground. It's super hard for us to judge, but we cannot also ignore what's happening, or to the extent that we know. The safety and security of journalists are the most important things whenever they go, wherever they go. And especially when it comes to women journalists and female journalists, it's extremely hard. Afghanistan doesn't have a very good background in this specific topic. The safety and security has been a concern over the past 20-25 years. And we can't just change that all of a sudden. But what we can do is provide opportunities that could ease the process for them to move ahead with these barriers. For example, provide these specific ways and procedures that could support them, support their safety, support their security, provide specific guidelines for them to use. For example, there are journalists who've just graduated from university, so they don't have that specific understanding of how safety and security concerns are raising in Afghanistan and how they can deal with it. So I would say providing more support on that, providing more trainings for them to be aware of how they can deal with these sensitive situations or how they can keep themselves safe. I think that's a very important point.
So how can international organizations help in empowering women through involvement of women journalists?
As I said before, I think capacity building and trainings are one of the key things here. There needs to be more opportunities from the international organizations to help female journalists in Afghanistan. And when it comes to empowering them and giving them a hope, that's exactly what should be happening. I think the international organizations should give more opportunities to women in Afghanistan, try to recruit them or provide that way for them to be involved internationally as well. We see quite a lot of international media organizations that are sending their own journalists, their own perspective inside Afghanistan, when in fact there's quite a lot of journalists in the country that could help. And that means that they'll be financially stable, they'll still continue on their career and not just leave everything aside, which is what's happening at the moment and what we're witnessing.
And lastly, what gives you hope for the future of Afghan media, particularly in terms of women's empowerment, and what actions can individuals take to support this cause?
I think what gives me hope is the people. I think we're not living in 2001 anymore. People are much enlightened. People have a more brighter mindset than 2001. And I think they're not going to stay silent. They are going to fight back and they are going to make their voice heard. We've seen that through the past couple of years with Taliban banning education on girls and female citizens, that people have stood up, people have made their voice heard, people have stood up against it, and they did fight back. And we've seen the effect so far. It's affecting the people in power within the Taliban group, that they're shifting their mindset completely, and that's the power of people. And I believe that's what's going to happen with media as well. People are not going to stay silent, seeing their media organizations, radio stations, TV channels being shut down by the Taliban. We've seen that in provinces, Taliban have tried to shut down radio stations, and the first movement that's been raised was from people in that province. They want to be informed, they want to be aware of the surrounding, what's happening, they want to be aware of the news, and they want to make informed decisions. I think that's the main thing that gives me hope. I think as long as we see this problem as a problem that is inside that country, and the only solution for that would be people inside that country, I don't think violence would work anymore. I don't think any pressure on Taliban from the foreign countries would work anymore, because it would make the situation even more harder. So I think there should be more support to the individuals inside the country to support their own ideology, to support their own freedom, basically. As I said, people don't want this as well. Taliban are a group of people who've just come after 21 years living in mountains and in deserts, and all they've known is violence and guns and weapons, and now they've come to this wonderful era of technology, of freedom, and they've seen it and they've shifted their mindset. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I'm very hopeful for that. That's something that's going to change the future of Afghanistan.
As we conclude this enlightening episode, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Azad Hamidi for his profound insights and unwavering commitment to empowering women in Afghan media. Azad, your dedication is truly inspiring, and we are grateful for the wisdom you have shared with us today.
Thank you, Froh. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. All the best.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey through breaking barriers, women in Afghan media. While this may be our last episode for now, the conversation continues and the quest for gender equality persists. Until we meet again, stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and together, let's continue breaking barriers. Farewell, and see you in the future.